All right, welcome back to Dirt Sociable. This is the episode where we're going to talk about Antigo rounds 3 and 4 of the Championship Off-Road Series. Today is actually National Bourbon Day, the day that we're recording. So we got a little Woodford Reserve. I mixed up a little tastiness, so...
Pretty good, not bad.
It passes the test then. This is a little experiment mix that I'm doing here, so... Let's get right into racing here. What about that weather in Antigo?
Yeah, obviously Saturday started out real good. Set up and had a good track, beautiful day, and Sunday was very much different. Obviously started out with a lot of rain, to the point where I personally didn't think we were going to be racing, but they made the decision. They sent him out there, and it was sloppy, a car slipping and sliding everywhere. Definitely didn't want to get out of the race line early on at all because you lost any momentum, any speed, because you just got sucked up into puddles and mud.
Yeah, Sunday morning I was kicking your bunk. I was like, dude, let's go. It's race time. You're like, don't you hear the raindrops? I said, don't you hear the frickin' UTVs? Let's go. It was not, it wasn't the worst. I mean, we've been through worse rain.
I think it was not the worst because of the track they're at, right? So Antigo is pretty unique in surface-wise, amongst all the, at the bull ring with just more of the clay surface, more of the circle track surface, because that's where it was rooted in as well. So it's just interesting that, I don't think if you're at Crandon, it's not happening. I don't think Crandon's able to throw that much water off the track and still be racing.
Yeah, I've seen some miraculous things throughout the years, but it's always challenging and it's always a coin toss, and it really depends on just how much rain and how much is coming in the future. So, but since we're on the topic of rain and mud, should we get the buggy dork talk right out of the way?
Hey, the buggies are not the track groomers anymore.
Yeah, the Sportsman UTV now.
Yeah, what they're designed to do.
Yeah, four-wheel drive.
Track groomers.
So, start me off with light buggy.
Yeah, obviously on Saturday, Connor Schultz got past Evan Hockers and just checked out. It's just really crazy to see Connor Schultz. He's usually moving through the pack, mid-pack, all the way up to the front relatively quick. And just to pull that much on Evan Hockers, who has shown speed throughout the series so far in recent years, and just to pull that much car length in a very short time. I think in the first lap he passed him, he probably had a 5, 6, 7 car lead right away, and he just started to pull away. But one, it talks to how smooth he is as a driver. Obviously, when you're in light buggy, carrying momentum is huge. You got to carry so much momentum in those cars to keep the speed there. But also speaks to, they just have that car on rails, and it's whatever they have going on in that machine is far superior to anything out there.
Yeah, they well maintain it and adjust it, and as Alcox even said, he's a robot.
Yeah, it sure seems like that. I mean, like I said, you're talking about light buggy, which if you're talking about power, it's not like they're oozing out a ton of power in those things by any means. And for him to pull that much car length on somebody else is pretty impressive on a track where I guess I'm not going to say it's overly technical. Obviously, you still got to be smooth and hit your lines, but definitely pulled a lot more gap than you would expect.
Yeah. So then how about the single buggy end of the deal there?
Yeah, I was just going to quickly grab into Sunday, too. Obviously, Connor didn't finish the whole race, so he ended up in the back. The guy that's normally up in top, Evan Hockers, finished 8th. So it's just kind of the same thing. It was the mud race, so you would expect, Greg Stengel was up there. He was in 4th. It's just one of those mud races where if you got outside of any groove, you were in trouble on Sunday.
So I seen Greg Stengel on Tuesday after the race, and he said that was top 5 worst mud race that he's ever been in.
Yeah, see, and Greg's been around forever, so you're saying you've seen worse. If that's top 5 for Greg Stengel, there isn't much worse.
Yeah, I think the like elements of it were the issue more than the rain and the mud itself. It was just that clay surface and the standing water. So you're like continuously driving through puddles, and that clay surface is super slick. So yeah, but either way, he said it was definitely top 5.
Yeah, that is definitely crazy. Yeah, so I know you want to jump into single buggy a little bit. So Saturday saw Connor Schultz up top, obviously carrying the success from the light buggy to the single buggy. On Sunday, he didn't start, so Colin Schultz took the win there. So the split between the brothers in the Saturday, Sunday. I was going to ask you, maybe you know this, so do they get a drop because of Wheatland in Sportsman?
Sportsmen get a drop, yes.
Yeah, so
So he maybe used that to his favor there. But I don't think this is going to be the last mud race we have this season. Have you looked at the forecast for Crandon coming up?
no, I haven't taken a look that far ahead, but I guess I struggle with that a little bit. If you got your vehicle there, you probably should bring it out and try to turn some laps. Obviously, you don't know when you're going to need a throwaway. You could have something break, or maybe something possibly go, and you need a throwaway later in the season. So to use it in a mud race, obviously don't know all the specifics behind it, but it just seems a little odd for me.
Yeah, and obviously to highlight somebody that we have recently had on, Alcox's Sunday race did not go very well. The mud seemed to have packed up behind the pads and was just pretty much like he's just driving around with the foot brake on. So
Yeah.
it was not a favorable situation.
Yeah, definitely a rough situation. Had to pull off on Sunday for a 10th place finish. On Saturday, they finished 9th. So if you guys had seen our Ben and Luke Alcox, that's who we're talking about episode. Definitely super exciting to see them back out on the track and getting that single buggy, geared up.
Yeah, a funny little story I heard and the week after Antigo here was Saturday. They were a little bit of a issue with the spotter for Luke Alcox, and his fiance Tavia was running around frantically with a radio trying to find somebody to spot, and she got up to near the spotter's tower, and a good friend, Mikey Van Hoovel, was sitting there, and she just tosses the headset in his lap. And from what I was told, everybody that was spotting behind goes, "Oh, no, you could have picked anybody else."
Yeah, that's pretty. That story was pretty crazy. Obviously, panicking trying to get a spotter is never probably a fun situation to be in. So, good thing they were able to find somebody, and good opportunity. If he would have had his radio set up right.
Yeah, the communication was poor, so it was hard to hear. But what an opportunity that would have been for Luke to hear some insight on from Mikey Van Hoovel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and then just to kind of discuss, like, obviously the rain was pretty tough. The course was tough on Sunday, so Champ decided to not run the 170s, 200s, and 570s on Sunday. Kind of move them to a different day. I think based off of what I saw, that was a smart move from the series. Just those cars would have really struggled in that condition, and I don't even know if they would have climbed some of those hills.
Yeah, I definitely think that it would have just been just a full race of pushing carts out and being a mess, and then those kids would have to clean up everything, and it was a good call.
Yeah, even though, like, getting experience in a mud race, and especially that level of mud, would have been a really good experience for a lot of those young drivers. Obviously, I think for the smaller vehicles other than mod cart, it just made a lot of sense. It probably wasn't raceable for them.
Yeah, so pivoting to mod cart then?
Yeah, let's jump into some mod cart. I know that's something that you enjoy watching a lot.
Yeah, so let's see, Saturday, there was a wreck that was right off of turn one there was like 4 or 5 cars that got into each other, and they didn't get recovered until they were already a lap down. So that kind of was a tough start for those kids to be pedaling from that position already. But
Yeah, just talking about that a little bit, that was one of those situations, the kids get caught up and get side by side and start, getting body panels crushing. And I think the motto there was just put the foot to the floorboard and see what happens. And definitely a lot of people running over, flipping, from contact with other mod carts. I think that was just one of those situations. You just put the foot down and you hope you end up on the other side. And a few of them really did not end up on the other side of that one.
Yeah, that was 4 wide into that corner, and it just didn't fit with a bunch of carts bobbling around. So
a lot of these younger drivers have a good amount of experience already. I think that was one of those that they'll probably all go back and learn from, and understand that it might make more sense on the first lap to back out and just try to hold your position and make a pass later. I think that's definitely one of those experience things that will come up, and definitely a good learning experience.
So I was rewatching on Flow, and Wyatt Miller was in the announcer's booth for this time, and it was really interesting. I forgot who said it, probably Brent or something like that, but saying that imagine Wyatt Miller in a mod kart class, which would be legal, because he could go down to,
Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting. I think I hate to say, because I don't want to take anything away from anybody in the mod carts right now, because I think there's a lot of really good upcoming drivers in that class, but I think he would probably be a little more advanced than the competition in mod kart.
Yeah, there's not, that field is stacked with plenty of up and coming stars in my eyes.
Yeah.
So, and actually some of those kids came out of mod kart and went to pro spec, and then some of them are for next year moving up also. So that's just, he'll have an opportunity to race them either way.
Yeah, it's just the youth movement, and I think mod kart's going to be the feeder for the future, and hopefully it sticks around.
Did you see Monsager's Saturday interview? He mentioned his dog.
I did not see that. No.
Yeah, he thanked his dog on the.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what else is a kid gonna, kind of do? Mom, dad, dog.
That's awesome. I did not see that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's the fun thing about those classes is that kids just get a great opportunity to get in the sport, get up on the podium, and practice those podium speeches, and perfect them for the future.
Yeah. So just to kind of highlight the finishes there, we had on Saturday Visser, Monsager, and Wassenberg, and then Sunday we had Peitel, and there was something weird here. So Wirt was on the flow screen as second, and then Visser as third. But when you watch it, Wirt, hopefully I'm saying that right, past Visser, like there was the safety crew helping a vehicle on the finish line turn, and he passed them as they were right next to him. So that's a no-no. So I believe, because according to our official sheets, he's actually in fifth. And then they moved Visser up to second and Bell up to third.
Yeah, so maybe served a penalty, a couple position penalty for that.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I don't have an official thumbs up on that, but when I seen it on video, I knew that was a no-no, and then when I looked at the official results, it transposed that there was a no-no there.
Yeah, makes sense. You jump into, like you said, we kind of hit on it earlier on, but you're getting into some of the Pro-Am side-by-side classes. Obviously, the new track groomers. It's amazing. Like, obviously, you got the Pro-Am side-by-side. You're running 22-ish side-by-sides out there, and That's a pretty good car count for that class. It's a class I'll watch here and there. I don't have a lot of huge notes on the either side-by-side class. Do you have anything on the Pro-Ams?
Oh, you moved over to Pro-Am on me. I was going down the running list. No, I don't really have much on Pro-Am it's so hard to watch everything. I mean, there's enough classes, and when there's so many of them as Pro-Am.
Yeah, I just like the amount of vehicles. Like, I'm not a huge, component of continuing to add more and more side-by-side classes, but it's still good to see, a class that has a strong car count, especially Pro-Am side-by-side. Pro-Am Turbo, on the other hand, 5 cars is probably not ideal for a class, but obviously, hopefully, we'll give that 1 or 2 more seasons and see if it fills out a little bit. But I don't think a car count of 5 is sustainable for a class, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my mod card hat on here again, but instead of Pro-Am Turbo, I'd like to see mod carts for adults.
I mean, if we're running mod cart for adults, I probably am running one of those things. I don't know why. I just think they would be fun.
Yeah, maybe bump it up to a 600cc engine, though.
I guess, yeah, you probably would want it faster, but then how fast do you really want those to go?
Well,
now you're just talking. You're just going to be running at what, pro spec speeds in a little cart?
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe.
Yeah,
but the big thing would be the clutches wouldn't be able to handle on the 450 the extra weight without cutting chassis tubes down, and then that would just conflict with safety. So
yeah, obviously you'd have to do something to make sure they stay safe. But we've talked about that a lot. It would just be fun to get a bunch of those and gear them up for adults and just go rip on them in someone's yard or something for fun.
Yeah, because the class to go to for adults for that essentially was pro spec, but then the kids took it over. So
I just don't know if that would be affordable though. I just feel if you had an adult class of mod cart, it'd probably get out of hand money wise, and you probably just might as well go run the pro spec anyways.
True.
But it would be fun.
Yeah. So pro buggy. I'm gonna start with Saturday because I split mine up again. Meister, last lap, gets the pass on Bernlohr. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting, and definitely a fun class that I know I always like to watch that and get into the buggy races. And obviously on Sunday, like we talked about every other class, it's just you got the mud in there as well, and Michael Meister taking the sweep on the weekend. But always very exciting. I think Sunday you got to see different drivers up in the top because of the mud. Definitely still so. On Saturday, we talked about this on the last podcast. In the pro buggies, you're still seeing that split of there's the top group and then the middle group. You're still seeing that even in the bull ring. But it's exciting. I know on Sunday when the pro buggies rolled out, we were in turn 1 in the turn right there and watching it from this. I was actually watching from the bed of the car. I was super excited. Jaden Lemke got a chance to be out front. Didn't last very long, unfortunately. Got sucked into the mud.
Oh, it lasted pretty long. They got lots of TV time on him.
Not when he was in the lead, though.
Yeah, but he was up there for quite a while, a very respectable amount of time.
Oh, for sure. He was up in the front, but he didn't get the lead very long.
Oh, yeah, the lead was a sneeze. I think it was it was in the infield where he got the lead for one turn.
Yeah, one turn, and unfortunately got out of the race line, got sucked up in that, and then I think he slid up into the wall and made some pretty good contact with the wall. Yeah,
the whole Sunday race for Pro Buggy was kind of just mucky.
Yeah,
I mean the start alone was fourth place back was just sitting there spinning their wheels, and even the announcers, when you watch it back, were like, "Hey, this is probably going to be restacked," and they didn't. They just kept on letting them roll.
Yeah, that it was a mess. It was like you said. The announcers even said it feels like it's gonna be a restack and restart, and they just let him roll, and it definitely made for an interesting Sunday. I think 15 pro buggies made the call on Saturday, and only 13 on Sunday. And we brought up Jaden Lemke. He finished ninth, and then on Sunday 8th. So, like I said, in the middle of that pack, and there was a little shakeup in the 1, 2, 3 across the day, other than Michael Meister. Billy Booth got up there, Mike Steinhardt on Sunday, and then on Saturday, Jordan Burlor and Shannon Minder was the other person up there as well.
Yeah, John Fitzgerald got to race Cole Burnlower's super buggy for the weekend. He was filling in for him, so I would like to get his aspect on that at some point to see, because he went from 16 single buggy, and now he's racing UTV, and I want to say, I mean, he's been around for a long time. I want to say he's been in super buggy at one point or another in his career, but it'd be nice to see what he thinks of it in its current state.
Yeah, definitely. It's always exciting.
Yeah, especially when somebody fills in and it's a super mud race. And
yeah, I would say probably didn't enjoy the mud race according to the results.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I don't know how. I know he didn't finish the race, so yeah. I hope there wasn't a massive damage. I was trying to find out it on the replay. I know I seen him in person after the race, and he was switching into his other car, and it wasn't the time to ask, but yeah.
It's always the time to ask. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Usually if there's a bad race, you just avoid the driver for a little bit. Go let him cool off.
Yep. Pro Spec. You ready for that one?
Yep.
So Visser gets top qualifier on qualifying on Friday. Pulls a 6 invert. That's what 6 invert. And then he kind of, the first half he biked it, and that kind of put a big hindrance on his race there. Wyatt Miller kind of pushed a barrier back. I don't know if you've seen that, but it was actually pretty much where we were standing for the super buggy race, and it was like pushed back 6 inches.
Yeah, I was going to call that out. So obviously Wyatt Miller on Friday and Saturday dealing with some adversity that we haven't seen early on in his career. Obviously, there were some finishes where he didn't finish last year where he didn't finish the race, but definitely had a rough Friday, Saturday that we're not used to from Wyatt Miller. Did get to turn it around a little bit on Sunday, finishing 4th. But it was one of those in the bull ring. Definitely uncharacteristic for Wyatt Miller early on in the weekend.
Yeah, and Visser pulled a first place on Sunday as well, so he got to some redemption from that Saturday race. Yeah,
but I think one thing that everybody should be talking about, how about the finish to the race on Sunday? You think Dylan Parsons had fun after the finish on Sunday?
You're going to have to ask him that.
I don't know if I've actually ever seen somebody wreck themselves after a race until... I don't know, have you?
Yes, and I can't tell you the story.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Like, I saw that and I was like, I can't think of anybody wrecking themselves alone. I've seen, like, people take other people out, but I've never seen somebody take themselves out.
Yeah, but it was greasy out there. I mean... It's a tough situation. It was a matter of a half a car or a half a line length over the wrong way and just not zoned in for, hey, I need to set this thing up and whip it around the corner.
Yeah, 100%. I just think that was funny. Avery Hemmer finishes on the top on Saturday. And the other thing to call out is Draxon Shimmick making his debut, and obviously on Saturday ends up 9th, but getting on the top of the podium on Sunday, or I shouldn't say the top, but getting on the podium in 3rd place is very exciting. And I thought that was a pretty strong debut for another young driver. So I think it was Visser that called it out. He said, he mentioned something about being amongst all these young kids driving, and that's just another young gun that is coming up in the pro spec. And before you know it, I think there's 11. You're probably about 5-ish, 6-ish deep now of young drivers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the class to be if you're 13 or 14-year-old.
Yeah, crazy. Who would have thought that, like, 4 or 5 years ago, that pro spec would have been the class to be at 13 or 14? Like, I always thought that would, they'd be hanging out in the mod cart until 15, 16, and all of a sudden, like 2 years earlier now, you can be up in pro spec. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, Ryan debuted that in, I think it was like 2001. Debuted the class, and yeah, it was tailored towards a stepping stone, but it's definitely becoming a popular spot for the mod cart kids to transition to a pro light or pro 2.
Yeah, definitely. You got anything else on pro spec?
I think we should mention that Shizmic that's split duty, so they have the opportunity to make a decision though, because Zach Shizmic drove it at Wheatland, so they could do a 40-60 split and still be in the points if I remember the rules right. So it depends on if they still want to do a 50-50 split and how they want to do that. They could actually keep themselves in the points if they keep one of those drivers in more.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I know in Wheatland, Zach didn't have good results. I don't even think he ran the second day, if I remember correctly. So be interesting to see where they would sit in points. And obviously getting up on the box once is exciting, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. It was kind of like, I thought for like the mud race, it made sense. So you saw like Nick Visser and Dylan Parsons, who have more experience, a little more older, but I mean, still third, fourth, fifth, we're all young drivers. So it definitely was like my prediction going into mud race was probably going to be some of the older drivers that might have more experience, might thrive. They did a little bit. Nick Visser was on rails on Sunday, so definitely he had the experience, and being at Antigo was to his favor, hometown, quote unquote, hometown track, I believe, and definitely favored him on that.
Yeah, he's only like, I think 20 miles away from Antigo, and I don't know the hometown, it would say it on here, but yeah, that's considered hometown track for him.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you want to go next?
Should we go just as watching order as pro stock?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Let's see. David Gay was just. I'm going on Friday here first. David Gay was making some good contact with multiple people, trying to get his way through the crowd. CJ and Truitt, they were swapping spots back and forth, battling up there.
Yeah, I think the big story here for pro stock across Saturday and Sunday that we should definitely lead off with is more who we didn't see on the podium, and I think that's probably the biggest story of pro stock. It's probably not who finished up on the podium, but it's who didn't. CJ Greaves. CJ finished 7th and 10th on Sunday, so I think that's a pretty big storyline. Definitely somebody that dominates pro stock, and you expect him on the podium day in and day out. For him not to podium either day is quite shocking.
Yeah, that whole incident on the left-hander ring in the infield, that caused CJ to lose his spot in first, and then David Gay also rolled on that same incident, and Truitt was like right in the middle of it. Camera angles, they're hard to tell if CJ started to loop it and then the contact was there, or if the contact was before and then caused him to loop it, and David Gay was just the guy, just wrong place, wrong time, and then he tagged Truitt, and that's where he ended up rolling right over.
Yeah, definitely. Truitt finishing up on the top of the box both days, getting the sweep as well. Not the only driver to get the sweep, but one guy that we talked about at Wheatland was the what we think, or one of the guys that isn't have all the factory is Cross Kirchmeier, and he definitely had a tougher race weekend versus Wheatland, where he finished 9th and 12th respectively both days, and he was a guy that was up on the box both days at Wheatland.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, that the big story is who's not on the podium. But also, the big story is when CJ pulls off at the halfway point again on Sunday and then isn't on the box.
Yeah, he didn't really pull off. He just went to the back.
Yeah, well, he was chugging along just trying to collect whatever points he could because anything could be salvaged at that point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was off speed and trying to salvage what he can for points. Obviously, it's going to be a very tight point race with all the individuals in competition. I mean, not only Colin Truitt sweeping, but you still have Jed Boodle in there, Owen Van Eperen, Jacob Meske. Like, there's a lot of good drivers, even Cross Kirchmeier, like we had said before. He didn't have the results here, but a guy that has shown speed at Wheatland, and I think it's still going to be a very competitive class, so it makes sense for CJ to just try to salvage what he can.
Yep. All right, take me to Pro Light.
Yeah, let's talk about Pro Light a little bit, and I don't know. Out of all the truck classes, I mean, don't get me wrong, Pro Light is still an exciting class to watch, but it's quickly one of the pro truck classes that you're definitely, I guess, for me, it's like 4 out of 4. Like, that's the least exciting one for me.
Oh, okay. I thought with the Holter being highly competitive in it, Connor Berry coming from the West and being really competitive, I thought that brought some great aspects into it. Gray Ledbetter, she comes from Pro Spec, and she's got some challenges that she's had every single race, but she's improving every single time. She was actually up in 4th. And I thought that was doing pretty good. Again, ran into some challenges, but she's growing along the way.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting to see Gray Ledbetter back into a truck and in the Pro Light class, and I think it'll still be very competitive. Like you said, you called out Johnny Holter's getting things dialed in there, and you have Connor Berry and adding some of the speed to that class as well. If early on at Wheatland, you kind of thought it might be a Johnny Holter show, and he kind of was walking away with a lot of that, but Connor Berry's definitely showing a lot of speed.
Yeah, Wheatland, Connor Berry had some mechanical issues, if I remember correctly, electrical issues somewhere along the points there. But now that seems to be getting sorted out, except Sunday, he runs into what appeared to be overheating issues, and then he goes over the double or the step down, whatever term you want to use for it, right before you re-enter the oval. And at the same time, all this happens, the fan seems to fly off the radiator. He lands hard on the left front and breaks something in the left front, even though he's got a substantial lead.
Yeah, I think that's one of those experience things where you got to know how much to push your vehicle, and when you have a big lead like that, you got to be able to rein in, maybe not triple there or send it as hard. And obviously things break, things happen. You're out there racing and you want to stay fast, but it's one of those things you got to, with experience, you probably learn to dial that in and not send it as hard.
Yeah, but that gave a chance for Monster Truck Joey to get on the podium.
Yeah, Joe Sylvester finished 3rd on Sunday, 5th on Saturday, so definitely a good showing for him at Antigo. I know I saw him signing some of his monster truck stuff, handing out in the stands, so that's always cool. It's always cool when you get the crossover sports and motorsport guys that people know from another one. Just adds excitement to the club.
Yeah, that was he definitely knows promotions, because that was pretty awesome. I know my kids were pretty excited for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were. I don't think they expected to run through their pile of monster trucks that fast.
Yeah, well, I think he had like a dozen, which is, that's a pretty good number for when you think you're going to go out and give some away. I'm sure those things are probably $5 a pop. So
Yeah, they are. I bought a few in my day, so I think they're right around there now.
So pro side by side. Let me get my days right here. So Saturday, CJ pulls right in the pits before the race even starts. Like, I sent him a message. It was obviously today, so short notice, asking, "Hey man, what's up with that?"
Yeah, it still finishes fourth. So
yeah, that was going to be my next point. Was that it didn't matter who won this race because the headline was going to read. Let me see, I got the number here. CJ made 11 passes from the back, to fourth.
yeah, I mean, 17 drivers had taken the flag here. So another thing though, pro side by side, CJ fourth both days. So CJ off the podium. So we went a whole weekend in Antigo with CJ not making a podium in a side by side class.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you think second weekend in we would be talking about CJ not being on the podium in any side by side?
No, I didn't think so. But it's magnified because it's such an abnormal thing. But also, we're getting some really competitive people in here. And then also, in my eyes, there's some teamwork going on. So it's getting exciting. I mean, no better time to be a UTV fan than right now watching this.
Oh yeah, you're definitely seeing some of the classes or the maker like Polaris, Yamaha guys. Obviously, they're running out of the same teams, some of them, and if you look at the top five. You're going to see Owen Van Epperen, Rodney Van Epperen, Jeb Boodle, CJ Greaves. And then the one guy that's kind of sticks out that isn't in that Yamaha Polaris battle is Kyle Chaney with his Can-Am and getting up in the second spot on Sunday. But definitely starting to kind of see those names be really fast. It's, those top five guys are really fast.
Yeah, and I think Chaney is definitely a fast guy and good driver. I think Sunday a lot of the factors there was that Rodney and CJ were spending a lot of time right next to each other, and whether you're focusing on blocking or whether you're just trying to get around a guy, and the other guy sneaks around. Either way, nothing to take away from the finish there, but
yeah, I mean, it definitely a lot plays into it too. The race lines were tight on Sunday, so yeah, getting passes in is tougher. You got to move guys around to probably open up a spot. Obviously, later in the day, some lines were opening up, but it was a tough race line to make passes. So definitely created some excitement in that factor, and I think it's going to be exciting throughout the year to see the battle that is really forming. And I don't think it's unique to this year because I think it always is, but really the battle that's happening between Polaris and Yamaha. Clearly that battle's still alive and well, and will be interesting to see who takes the top, Polaris or Yamaha, but I think that's here to stay for a while. That is going to be a battle between the maker.
yeah, and that makes exciting entertainment racing for us. Hopefully Chaney has better luck cashing this check than he has with any of his other King of Hammers checks.
Yeah, I don't know much about that.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have better luck. But so, which one you want to move to next? I see you got your sheet stacked up in a row here.
No, I don't really have it in a row. So I'm all over the place. I just went off of how the sheets were stacked. So
Okay, well then I got Pro 2 is what was next on.
yep, that works for me. Yeah, I think the story here is, at least for me, obviously Ryan B takes sweep on the weekend. finishing both. But I was going to call out Johnny Holcher just finishing third both days. And I don't know if, I think as an off-road fan, everybody knows Johnny Holcher's story from last year. The bad luck they had with multiple trucks. So just to see him consistently get that truck going in the Pro 2 podium both days is exciting for that team, because obviously last season they didn't necessarily have the capability of saying they had their truck finish multiple days on the podium, let alone finish. So it was exciting to see him put that together in the Pro 2.
Yeah, on Saturday, Keegan had the lead there all the way up to the halfway point, and then you could just watch Beat he went to work right away on the restart and got past Keegan there. Also, notes on Saturday was Kyle Cooper takes and gets taken advantage of in the mud and ended up slamming into the wall on the turn 1, and he was able to drive it away.
On Saturday or Sunday?
That was a Saturday.
Oh, okay.
That's what.
Oh, yeah, the mud from... When you said mud, you threw me for a loop, so it was obviously probably just overwatered a little bit on the track?
I believe so, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I got it in notes for Saturday, so... hopefully he gets that all back together, and I know he's a newer driver, so, hopefully give some kudos to him to get that back together and get back on the track and get that thing figured out.
Yeah. Also, too, it's obviously Ryan Beats starting to walk away with the points. He's got a points lead, I think, like a pretty decent gap amongst everybody else in Pro 2. Other than that, there's no big group of individuals that are piled up, and it's going to be an exciting battle from probably like 2 to 4, maybe 2 to 5 in this Pro 2. I don't think, obviously, if Ryan Beats starts having some bad luck, some guys might start being able to catch up, but Ryan Beats got a early hold on the points lead, so it'll be interesting to see. It was good to see Kyle Greaves get some speed, some bad luck again on Sunday, so he finished 5 and 7, but he was definitely up in the podium position on Sunday for a while, and starting to, showing some good results. Unfortunate things happen, though.
Yeah, Ryan Beats got 30 points over the second place in points. So, I mean, that's one bad weekend, and it's also interesting because bonus points have been getting spread out between a bunch of other drivers. So, like top qualifiers and midway points, stuff like that. So, it's going to make it tight.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think Ryan Beats still got a pretty firm hold on that. Obviously, yeah, one bad weekend, that could change, but even one bad race, I mean, the only point difference is 19 points is the separation between first and last, so it definitely would take a bad weekend for him to drop out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a fight, but I think it's going to stay very interesting. We're only second race weekend in, so let's not count our chickens before they hatch.
Yep. Yeah, let's flip to Pro 4. Another sweep. So I think that's kind of the theme of Antigo, right? A lot of sweeps. I think we talked about 4 or 5 sweeps now in some of the classes. CJ Greaves makes it 10-0 at Antigo in the bull ring, taking the top spot on both Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, it was CJ Greaves, Cole Mamer, Jimmy Henderson. On Sunday, is CJ, Jimmy Henderson, and Adrian Cheney. Obviously, Sunday was all thrown for a loop with the craziness of the mud race and everything going on. Cole Mamer definitely went for a hard ride on Sunday, so he was not in the top 3. Was running up top, but hit a rut and went for a heck of a ride. So just interesting to see how the points will shake up. Jimmy Henderson showing some consistency here this weekend. We'll see how that sticks. But once again, it's just one of those, we talk about it all the time. Pro 4, you put it together, you stay together, you're probably going to get results.
I think you said it pretty good there. Yeah, the Cole Mamer on the first lap, catching an edge and going over. And then they called that the halfway comp caution.
It wasn't on the first lap.
Well, second lap, first lap.
I don't know. I think it was a couple laps in.
Okay. I still think we needed an actual halfway. It was the last race of the day. Whether the rain came in, they were still going to race them. So I don't know. I just felt like that was a little bit under-delivered.
Yeah, I would agree with you that it felt like the halfway got gypped off. I remember leaving the Pro 4 race going, wait, there's no halfway? Like, what happened? Like, even as a fan, it's like, it felt too early to be halfway. Didn't really get communicated well. Maybe if you were in the stands, you heard it. We were more on the back stretch, so maybe we missed the announcement. But even as fans, it was confusing that was halfway, and it definitely, unfortunately, made them spread out a little bit. I think the other thing was on Saturday, the pass that Jimmy Henderson made on Johnny Greaves was insane. He just sent that, caught him in the air, and that was an insane pass.
Yeah, he sent it, and I think I seen an interview on it, and he said, well, the spotter said, fucking go, let's go. So he did it, and then he did it again to just, hey, if I did it once, I can do it twice.
Yeah, that was really cool. You're starting to definitely see, I know we talked about this early on in the podcast, just about looking for excitement of like the on-track battle. Unfortunately, it's between like Jimmy Henderson and Johnny Greaves. And no offense to Johnny Greaves, because I still think he's one of the best ever to do it, but he's definitely not one of the faster guys this season so far. Obviously, that could change. So it's unfortunate those battles happen farther down in the pack, and it's not like a 2-3 battle most of the time. But that's really where the battle's forming. I think the other thing to look at or call out is Mickey Thomas and CJ Greaves. Like, they've been having a lot of close side-by-side battles. Mickey Thomas definitely showing speed. I think, as the season goes on, Mickey Thomas probably will continue to battle with CJ Greaves. So I think quietly we're having... I think CJ Greaves, Mickey Thomas is a little cleaner of racing than Jimmy and Johnny, but definitely starting to have some good battles on the track when all the trucks are out there. I mean, obviously a lot of things are happening where we don't get to see it consistently throughout the race because they're breaking, but starting to see some battles, and hopefully Mamer gets it back together and gets back out there because, man, he's showing a lot of speed as well.
Yeah, definitely is. I think he's doing a full season. I don't know if that changed because of his incident, but Instagram's showing that he's got that thing pretty much back together.
Interesting. I think he kind of heard early on they weren't going to, but then they showed up at Antigo, so you're like, maybe they will. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. And then where we were standing on Sunday was right in the entrance into the infield and exit in the infield. And just watching CJ, and well, all the trucks, but particularly CJ, as he whips that Scandinavian, flicks that thing in, I think that 141 experience might have helped him, might have given him a little edge.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, obviously the 141 experience allowed him to really throw it in there and pitch it, get it. I mean, I guess it probably allowed him to see how much he could. So maybe it did. I mean, I think he could always back it in, but maybe you should let him know what his limits were.
Yeah, or just get refreshed on it.
Yeah, potentially.
Yep. Alrighty, so that's Antigo. I mean, we got Crandon coming up next.
Yeah.
And can we cross our fingers, knock on some wood here? No rain.
It's Crandon. It's spring Crandon. There's going to be rain.
Well, okay.
I feel like I don't know. I just feel Crandon, rain go together.
Standard recipe there.
Yeah. Spring run at Crandon. It'll be exciting to see some of the new guys, new speed, and I'm just excited for Land Rush Day 1 Pro 4.
Yep. With
some of the new guys. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be awesome to see. The amount of trucks that are participating this year will make it interesting, but we will have to see when we get there. We're going to try to bring back what we did at Wheatland and interview some drivers and post them up that day. I think that was a good interaction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as much as I love Crandon's racing, like Turn One, like the excitement of being at Crandon, I'm glad. Like, I want to be there both days, obviously, because I want to see racing. I'm glad I'm not at the facility longer than I have to be. That's just my personal opinion. Everybody knows this. I don't think it's a secret. Crandon's probably my least favorite facility. I love the racing. I love the track. As far as facilities go, they're like, if everybody else is like B tier, A tier, Crandon might get lucky and get a D from me.
All right. Well, I'm excited to try out my electric campsite. See if that works out good this year. They've got improvements coming. You know, everybody's got their opinion on what they should be doing with their money for the improvements. But at the end of the day, as long as it's good racing, I'm going to be there whether it's a cornfield or a hill or full-on grandstands.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I always like I said, I like Crandon for the racing. Don't love the facility.
All right. But we're going to be there. So we'll get some interviews on, and we'll keep you up to date with Crandon. So,
yeah, definitely. I'm excited to hopefully get some interviews in on Saturday when I'm there. And, yeah, I'm excited for Crandon.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe and a little bell thing, and comment if you got some comments.